Hi all, welcome back to a new year of school, a new year of study time, and a new year of desperately holding in your coughs whenever you're in public.
NCEA is back and it's better than ever. They're releasing the highly anticipated sequel, NCEA 2. Chris Pratt is set to reprise his role as the not achieved on all of your externals.
And to those of you who aren't back until next week, we'd just like to say, grow up.
And on that note, I'm Aiden.
I'm Catherine.
And the teleprompter is really slow. You asked on Instagram what your hopes and fears are for the new school year, and today we're going to offer some advice on how to stay on top of everything.
Before we get into it, if you want to have your voice included in future videos, follow Studytime on Instagram.
Also, if you're after study resources, all our walkthrough guides and workbooks are 20% off right now for our back to school sale. These cover all the content you'll need for your exams across a wide range of subjects, and you can click the link in the description to find out more. So a person submitted that they would like to be prepared and gather some information about standards earlier so that they can get a head start. Now, the first thing I would say to this is the main battle that you want to fight, which most people don't do, is actually being on top of work. Not necessarily being ahead, but just being there. Firstly, if you want to be ahead, there's lots of standard information for externals that exist at studytime.co.nz. You can also buy our walkthrough guides. But for internals, you can find schools that have put their resources for internals and for internal learning out on the web. I think Wanganui Collegiate has a lot of resources online, especially to do with science for internals, and those are really useful.
Yeah. Another thing about being ahead is I think it works better in some classes. I was ahead in physics for a little bit, and I ended up finding class really boring. While it is good to make sure you get your education from a variety of places.
You want to focus in class, that is an important thing.
Please do.
Your teacher knows more than some random resource which you skim through, and they will be able to tell you lots of tips. And it's important to, as Catherine said, have a breadth of educational resources.
Although it is quite good if you are a little bit ahead and you know what you struggle with, you can ask questions about the thing you're having trouble with in class. But sort of getting more than a week or two ahead can make class really insufferable for you.
Someone also wants to know how you can better take notes and review them consistently. In class. Reviewing your notes is really, really good. The problem is finding the motivation and time to do so. I'd say it's really about forming a habit of potentially in a calendar, setting times where you're going to review.
There's also the point of how to review notes. I personally find it incredibly boring to read through stuff you have already written, the exact same words over and over and over. And so not only is it better for your brain, but it's also more fun to rewrite, not word for word, but just turn over your notes from one lesson and just spend 5-10 minutes writing down everything you can remember, then look through your notes from that lesson and then figure out what you missed, and those are the points you should revise, is the bits that you forgot to write down.
Absolutely. It's always about recalling what was going on rather than just rereading and trying to be oh yeah, that's right. I'm going to take the cap off because I need to tell the truth. The next big topic that people submitted on was procrastination.
Oh
which,
dear.
Of course, every high school student, unless you're a robot, has experience.
I think everyone full stop.
Everyone full stop, of course. Yeah, so someone submitted that they wanted advice on starting assignments as soon as you receive them. Most of high school for me, it wasn't particularly interesting. I wasn't really doing internals that I particularly wanted to do or to spend my time on beyond the last 3 hours before the due date. But I think what's important is knowing how much time something's going to take so you don't sort of dilly-dally around and sit there and then go on Instagram and then write a few words. You want to spend maybe a solid 4 hours on an internal that you evaluate is going to take 4 hours.
Yeah.
And this is called Parkinson's law. So it's all about limiting yourself to a certain time. And that's how much time the internal will actually take you overall. And you don't have to keep stressing about it. I'm going to touch the mic there as well. The other thing on procrastination that I like to think about, the other concept, is this thing called resistance. So you can imagine that there's this internal force within you that's causing you to, not want to go do that productive thing because it seems scary. And that's something humans have evolved to do, not do things that are scary. And your internal seems like one of those threats. So if you just get the ball rolling and show your brain that this thing isn't too scary, you're going to overcome that resistance and you can just do the whole thing. And I'm sure you have a lot of experience with it. It's far harder to get started than to, keep going with the middle of an internal when you're in the middle.
Literally just write a sentence or brainstorm keywords or something. And I suppose that sort of ties into starting assignments as soon as you receive them. Set yourself a little goal and say, okay, whenever I receive an assignment, I have to write at least one sentence. And that way you've started the assignment and it's so much easier to pick it up and continue something as opposed to starting it really from scratch.
Now, do you want to address the personal questions? This is where it gets juicy slash
very
interesting
juicy.
slash
I have some personal
intense.
experience with this one, but knowing that my self-worth isn't connected to my school grades. First off, it's not.
It's the start.
Yeah, it's the start. But I suppose it's more about your relationship between academic validation and sort of everything else you have in your life. Good things can come from doing well in school. And while it is really great to do well in school, before you go back to school this year, really have a think about what's actually important and what you actually enjoy outside of school, because there will be friends that you like to see at school and there will be activities that you like to do. For example, like I did choir, be like some sports that you do. And if you are sitting and thinking to yourself, oh my God, I don't have any hobbies other than school, maybe this is the year to try something. Join a club, join a sports team, get invested in really exciting activities that bring you joy, that aren't related to a grade.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that you should remind yourself of how incredibly variable grades can be and the marking process. If you're taking English and you work hard and you fall in love with the subject and sink a lot of time into it, you're not going to get the difference between M and E until you've figured out the specific nuances of NCEA. And the idea that you're not valuable because you couldn't figure out those specific nuances is absurd. I don't want to tell anyone to value themselves on anything to do with school.
There are so many other things that you will achieve in life besides getting an excellence endorsement.
We're on to our second question already. Wow. So the question is, what are you most worried about going back to school?
So first person said making friends. This is a big one, but ultimately I think most people sort of, once they get out of school, people realize that school is actually an easier place to make friends. At least in my head, I categorize the ways of making friends in two different areas. You need a common place and a common interest. Automatically, you have a common place. If you're taking the same subject as someone, if you've chosen that subject, you probably have a common interest. Just talk about why you've taken that subject and start up conversation.
I'm a big fan of asking questions, and they're always, if you want to make friends, you got to ask questions. My favorite question is, what do you want to be when you grow up? Because that shows someone's interest in their passions and potentially gets conversation going about who they are and maybe who you are, and you can be friends.
And if you're super nervous to ask the really hard big questions, you can always ask someone for their notes. Use the fact that you are in the same class, because it can start as study acquaintances, but then you find out you have the similar interests. And say you're at lunch or something and you see a group of potentially cool looking people, just go over and sit with them. Just say, hi, I'm Catherine, can I sit with you guys? 9 times out of 10, they will say, yeah, sure. If they say, ew, no, you can't sit with us, likely you don't want to be friends with them anyway.
You said cool looking people. Are you judging a book by its cover?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, there's your advice from Catherine.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, trust your gut.
These are pretty similar. Do you want to go through them, or do you want to
What are you most worried about? Being less confident surrounded by different people and reconnecting with people after so long? I mean, ask questions. Ask, hey, how was your summer? Because while it has been long, stuff has happened and they probably have stuff to tell you.
I don't think anyone stops being friends just because they don't see each other over summer. You're in the same school environment and, you're ready to be friends again. Or continue being friends, rather.
And with being less confident around different people, I think that's just more of a self thing. You've got to be really you've got to just sort of
be confident, guys.
Come on. You are the only constant in your life, and there will be different people who come in and out of your life. And so ultimately, it might take a while, but eventually over time, you will get confidence in yourself and it won't really matter who you're around and you will still stay self-assured.
All right, there's an old saying. I believe it is Stan Lee from Spider-Man. With great power comes
great responsibility.
We have a couple of people privileged enough to be in the head student role asking some questions. This person says that they are most worried about the head student role and interacting with the school community more. I would say that you've been put in this role for a reason. You were the most qualified candidate. The other thing is, it's hard when you come in as a year 9 and see head students and they look like the most amazing, perfect people who have everything in their lives sorted, and you come to your leadership role and you think, whoa, I'm pretty different to my perception of these people. But in reality, they have their together just as much as you do. So it's important to recognize that not everyone is as perfect as you imagine them when you were 13 years old.
Perception is a very weird thing.
It is.
And another person also has a head student role and they're worried about not achieving at a high enough level. Sort of similar to what Aiden was saying, you've got this role for a reason, and I know most schools do look at your academics. Your school has decided that you are capable enough to take on this leadership role as well as your studies. I suppose it comes under time management. You're going to be quite busy as a head student trying to organise a bunch of things and also go to a bunch of places. But also, you've got head student. Grades aren't the most important thing anymore. You've done your year 12 results. Year 13 is now sort of the time to take a bit more social responsibility and worry less about academics because it's just one more year.
What did you learn over summer that you wouldn't have at school?
__Kate.4444XKJ__ says looking after myself and my emotions.
Oh, how lovely.
I say fantastic.
Congratulations.
School can be quite overwhelming. It's such like
Absolutely.
a huge environment. You can end up hearing a lot about your friends' emotions and you can get a lot about pressure about school. And if you take summer to work on yourself and how you're feeling mentally and emotionally, I think that's a really good use of your summer. So good job, Kate.
And now at the opposite end, Nidish Chandra says all of level 1 physics. That's very impressive.
Okay, I say
how about
if
you?
you're... I say... Holy Sorry. If you're going into level 1, amazing job. If you've just finished level 1, what's
cool.
happened?
No, I think that's good. Maybe they didn't take physics and they were just learning it in their own time, which is super acceptable.
That's actually quite cool.
I think that's really cool.
Although I disagree, I think school can teach you that. Well, the question was, what did you learn over summer?
I think it's a slight at his school.
A slight diss.
Competency of his
Right, that's cool.
Okay. Crying for now, very appropriate, says working at New World sucks. I apologise that your job sucks. I don't know, I mean, it's fabulous that you're like out there and you have a job and you're getting money you're saving up or maybe spending it, I don't know what you do.
Yeah.
If you really hate your job, maybe find another one.
New world, more like new job. New
Yeah.
world, more like world of pain.
All right, gang, that's us for today. I hope you got something out of this video. And again, if you want your questions to be answered in a later video, drop us a follow on Instagram and TikTok and keep an eye out for our stories.
And if you want to start the year off strong and get ahead in your subjects, visit store.studytime.co.nz for 20% off all our walkthrough guides and workbooks. Follow the link in the description to find out more.
My brother's going to be working at Taco Bell this year.